There are toys, and then there are freak-out-worthy toys. Toys that get big reactions like...
OMG, no way!
Or...
Best present ever!
Or...
It's what I've always wanted.
For those toys, you need Walmart. They've got exclusives from major brands like Disney, Barbie, and Adventure Force that you can't find anywhere else. Toys that make kids jump for joy.
Thank you, thank you!
And make you a hero for giving them. Shop hundreds of exclusive toys.
Yes!
Welcome to your Walmart.
Ryan Reynolds here for, I guess, my 100th Mint commercial. No, don't. I mean, honestly, when I started this, I thought I only have to do like 4 of these. I mean, it's unlimited premium wireless for $15 a month. How are there still people paying 2 or 3 times that much? I'm sorry, I shouldn't be victim blaming here. Give it a try at mintmobile.com/save. Whenever you're ready.
$45 upfront payment equivalent to $15 per month. New customers on first 3-month plan only. Taxes and fees extra. Speed slower above 40 gigabytes. See details.
You know how much stuff you have? And, Didn't you look at your office in Chicago and say, well, this office is X, so the least I need is Y? Why didn't you do that? And then you wouldn't have all these problems.
Well, I just figured it would work out. I was trying to work... I figured...
Why would you... my entire question is why?
This is the plaintiff, Rosemary. She says she was relocating her skincare business from Chicago to Danbury, Connecticut, and she rented a space from the defendant, but found out the woman had no right subletting the space to her. The phony defendant refuses to return her rent money and security. The lease she signed is not valid, and she's here seeking the $600 she's owed back. This is the defendant, Alicia. She says she has a makeup and eyelash extension business, and she looked at some space she was renting online because she was from out of state. When the plaintiff arrived, she said the space was too small for her, but she had the room painted and renovated for the plaintiff and isn't returning a penny because the wishy-washy woman changed her mind. She's accused of not making things right.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
What you are about to witness is real. The participants are not actors. They are actual litigants with a case pending in civil court. Both parties have agreed to drop their claims and have their cases settled here before Judge Marilyn Milian in our forum, the People's Court.
The People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milian is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay. Ms. Rosemary, you are suing Ms. Atlassian for $600 that you want returned to you because, according to you, she entered into a fraudulent lease with you. Tell me what happened.
In March, I was relocating my business from Chicago to Connecticut. I found a location.
What kind of business do you have?
Skincare.
All right, so what do you do?
Facials and yes.
Okay. And you found her place how?
I'm familiar with the area because I'm originally from the area, so there are suites in this location, so I was interested in that location. And Annalisa had a business there, and I was looking for the broker information so that I can lease a space there.
Okay.
And when I contacted her, she offered to lease a space that she...
But how did you contact her? Because she's not the broker for the place.
No, I contacted just business.
Had she listed it or something?
No, she just...
Oh, so you were just calling businesses who were...
randomly just calling business owners to get information.
Is she the first one you called or the first one that answered?
Right, well, yeah, she was, yes.
Okay, and then she says, well, what a coincidence. I have a space that I'm... So you didn't even get the broker's name?
No.
And then she sends you pictures of the place?
Yes.
And she tells you how big it is?
Yes.
And it sounds big.
Yes, and it looked big in the picture, but it was not.
Okay, well, how big did she say it was? Because that's how big it is, right?
Right, exactly.
And how big did she say it was?
About 156
square feet.
Square feet, yes.
Okay, and then when you get into Connecticut and you look at the space, you decide that's not big enough for you.
Right.
Before you get to Connecticut, though, you have asked her to paint it for you.
Yes, yes.
Before you change your mind that it's too small, you've asked her to paint it for you.
Right, because I'm thinking, visualizing this place, it looked big, so I asked her if she would paint.
Okay, but why wasn't it big enough? If you know exactly how big it is, because she told you 156 square feet.
But I was going.
You didn't know what 156 square feet looked like.
Off the top of my head, I did not know.
Okay,
Yeah.
so then she tells you, well, I have another room that you could rent from me. All this is in the same.
It's in the same, in her business.
Suite or whatever
Yes.
that she's at. Okay.
Okay, so when I arrived in June, I saw the space and I told her it was too small.
By that point, you had paid her how much?
$200.
Okay.
For security. I told her it was too small. I would not be able to function in that small space. So she offered another space that she was leasing to someone else that was leaving, and she said would be available in July. So I said, okay. So she showed it to me, and I was like, okay. So I tried to move my stuff in. It was too small.
Don't you know how much stuff you have? And
Right.
didn't you look at your office in Chicago and say, well, this office is X, so the least I need is Y? Why didn't you do that? And then you wouldn't have all these problems.
Well, I just figured it would work out. I was trying to work. I figured.
Why
it was
would you?
good.
My entire question is why. It's why would you figure
was
it
a
would work
little
if you
figure-
didn't measure your office in Chicago and figure out how big it was?
It was nothing compared to what I had in Chicago. But I figured, I said, all right, I saw the room and I said to her, okay.
So now this one you're seeing with your eyeballs.
Yeah, this one I walked in.
And you say, this is going to be fine. And she paints it. And what did it turn out?
happened?
You start bringing stuff in and it's just crowded?
I bought a new table and it was just the angle of the room was off. So a table, I couldn't fit my table.
And now by this point, you've paid her how much?
This point, I paid her 200. Yeah, it was the 200, and then
You're suing for 600. When did you pay the other 400?
she pressured me to pay the rent because I was supposed to have.
When did you pay the 400?
I paid her in July.
Is it before you moved into the second place?
Yes.
So then at this point, when you decide that the second place is also, that you've seen with your eyeballs, well, this won't do, you are now into it for 600 and she has painted 2 rooms for you.
Okay.
Is that true or not true? Did she paint the second one?
She painted the second room, yes.
And had she painted the first one?
Yes.
Okay.
But she
All right.
offered to paint it.
Uh-huh.
Okay. She offered. Normally, when you rent a space, landlords will paint it for you.
Well, maybe
as a
not.
courtesy.
It depends on when it was
Okay.
painted.
Okay,
You
but
also asked for
it did not
specific
mention
color
that
and stuff.
It was not in the lease anyway, so it was
The painting.
something we spoke about
Okay.
verbally.
All right, so now when you decide that this isn't big enough, you're in the midst of the move-in? Is it the first day or is it after you've been there?
I've been trying to move my stuff in. The table that I bought.
Did you
was
do any
totally-
business there?
No.
Okay.
Not at all.
So
I
how
couldn't-
long did it take you to figure out that this is not the right place for you?
In the beginning of July, when she contacted.
How many days did it take you?
I was supposed to, well, she said that room would be available in July, so it was the beginning of July.
I'm asking you how many days it took you. Did you immediately say this won't work? Did you take 2 days to move in and realize it wouldn't work? Did you take 2 weeks to move in and realize it wouldn't work? That's what I'm
It
at.
took me a week because I had a bed ordered, sent there, okay, and it was an electric bed. It was a big bed, and it didn't fit properly because of the angle of the room. So I told her, I says, this isn't going to work.
Do you think maybe you're not that good a planner, though? You know,
No.
because you're not a good planner.
No, I am a good planner.
You sound like an
because-
awful planner. So you tell her, this isn't going to work, I want my money back. What does she say?
Well, first of all, she was pressuring me to move in because she was going on maternity leave. She was pressuring me to
I thought you were renting the place in June, but it was so small that you were going to wait until July.
Because that room was out of the picture. So
yeah,
now we're
because
talking
you
about
said
the
so,
other room.
not because she wouldn't rent it to you. All right, so but what happens? When you realize this isn't going to work for me, how does it go down between you two? Tell me about that.
Okay, so I said to her, no, she offered, she was the one that said, this is not going to work. So I felt threatened. Okay, and I felt like
Why
I gotta
threatened?
hurry up and get in there because of the lease. Okay.
Wait, I'm sorry, hold on. She said this is not going to work. Why?
She just said it's not going to work because of the time it took for me to move in. So as I told her, when my bed
But
arrived,
I thought you'd already paid the rent.
I paid her
For June?
in July. I paid her.
For July?
Yes.
So then-
$400.
Right. So what does she care how long it takes you to move in?
Thank you. So she was pressuring me to hurry up and pay to get in there because she was going on maternity leave.
Okay, wait, I'm confused. In my mind, you've already paid $400.
No, ma'am.
So you didn't pay the $400 till after you moved in July? I know you paid $200 first and $400 later. When did you pay the $400? Is it
July,
before you moved in? Or
before
after
I
you
moved in, ma'am.
Right. Okay.
Before.
Nobody's pressuring you. You want that place. You pick that place, and then you pay. She says, you got to pay rent. And then you pay the rent, and then what? You're not a pressurable person. You're a person who doesn't measure. That's who you are. But in any event, you then say to her, who says to who, this isn't going to work at that point?
She first said to me, she sent me a text and said she doesn't think it's going to work because I haven't moved in yet.
When does she send that to you? In June?
Yeah, she sent it at the end of June. And then when I found out...
So you pay $400. We're past that.
Okay.
You pay $400. You try to move in. You go, this is too small too. And then what? What happened after that?
I told her, I said, this isn't going to work, okay? I can't get my stuff. It just isn't going to work. The angle of the room isn't going to work. So I said to her, to be all fair, I said, listen, for all your troubles, okay, you could keep the $200 for the rent, for the paint, okay? But I would like the refund of, let's void this contract.
Right, and the refund of the $400.
My $400.
And that didn't seem fair to you because you had a signed lease.
Correct.
Except, is there a problem with your signed lease?
Based off of the digging that she did, the contract was unenforceable.
Why?
Because I had to get permission from my landlord.
Did you get permission from your landlord?
I did not, but I was under the impression, just based off how everything was working, in my business already, I had someone there previously, and that tenant was on a first-name basis with the property manager, so I had never asked for permission with that tenant.
But your lease says you have to get permission?
Technically, yes.
But not technically, it says it.
Yes.
It says it in black and white. But then did you ever speak to the landlord and then the landlord say that they had a problem with it or didn't have a problem with it or what?
This episode is brought to you by Iams Pet Food. When you choose Iams dry dog or cat food, you can see a difference in your pet with your own eyes. Healthy energy in 5 days, healthy digestion in 10 days, and healthy skin and coat in just 25 days. Satisfaction for you and them. Guaranteed or your money back. Feed Iams dry dog or cat food and see a visible difference. Visit iams.com/difference to learn more.
This episode is brought to you by Atlassian. Atlassian makes the team collaboration software that powers enterprise businesses around the world, including over 80% of the Fortune 500. With Atlassian's AI-powered software like Jira, Confluence, and Loom, you'll have more time to do the work that matters. In fact, Atlassian customers experience a 25% reduction in project duration per year. Unleash the potential of your team at Atlassian.com. Atlassian.
Had you sought permission with the previous tenant?
No.
Okay. When this hits the fan, did you speak to your landlord?
I wasn't aware of the fact that I wasn't allowed to sublet without permission.
Okay.
They came to me after the fact.
Who's they?
The property manager. He had reached out to me and said that she had some questions about my lease.
Okay. And then the property manager is the one who breaks it to you that you're supposed to get written permission?
Correct.
All right. So here is my question to you, though. Did you ever say, okay, I'll get the written permission now, or no?
This was after the fact, after she had decided I don't want the space anymore, after literally everything.
Okay. All right. So she has you painting, but she doesn't want to stay there. You think the lease is valid, so you won't return her $400. She can't fit in there. It's obvious she can't fit in there. But you won't return her $400, which sounds like a really good idea to you at the time. But in retrospect now, you kind of wish you'd given her $400 and kept the $200 for your trouble, right?
Honestly, no.
No.
The reason, it's not even because of the contract. It's the simple fact that that's how much I paid to do the renovations for your room.
What renovations? You painted?
The painting.
You paid $600 to paint?
$400 plus the paint itself. And I have the
Why didn't you just tell her paint yourself when you get here?
That's a
the
good
room
question.
need painting.
Actually,
what's the deal? Like you rent the suite and then you've been subletting the rooms in it, or what's the layout? Yeah.
So the reason why I did the painting was because I was having painting done before she was coming in. I had just finished installing hardwood floors. We were painting the entire
So you were going to paint
shop.
anyway. So
Exactly.
why are you saying that you needed to keep her $600 then? See, here's the thing. You have a lease, and the lease you are arguing. Go ahead. Let me let you argue it.
The lease is not valid.
Because?
Because it states it here in the lease that now I'm leasing from the company. It states it here. There's no subletting in their.
So how is it you found that out? You finally did find the broker.
I finally found the broker, and I found the place in the facility.
And you have you're renting a place for $300 a month. That's what size?
It's 360 square feet. That's what I'm paying. 360.
Oh, the same.
$1 square foot.
Okay, $1 square foot. And you were paying $400 for 156 square feet. All right. So maybe you should have found the broker from the beginning and shopped around a little, huh? Right. So when you get your new lease in the new place, that's when you read it and realize that, and then you ask about her lease, and they tell you, yeah, that's in everybody's lease. There's no subletting without our permission.
Right.
Right. You got to give her back her money. Now you got to give her back all of her money. Whereas you would have only had to give back $400. So that's why I was asking you, don't you wish that you had just given back the $400? Because $400 is less than $600. And now you're going to have to pay her back the entire $600 because here's the thing. When you don't have a right to sublet, then that means that your contract with her is void because the landlord can just say, get out to her. You know, she's a third-party beneficiary of the permission that you're supposed to have gotten and didn't. Verdict for the plaintiff in the amount of the $600.
So it turns out to be a tough lesson for the defendant. She has to give the money back, the whole amount, $600 to the plaintiff. Let's see what she has to say. And Alicia, what's your response to the judge's verdict? How do you feel?
I'm a little frustrated, but it is what it is.
Well, it's a hard way to learn a lesson, but at least you've done it now, okay? You've got to give her back the money, the $600. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right, let's see what Rosemary has to say. She's the one who brought the case to court, and it was a good thing she did because she won, and she's getting her money back. Rosemary, what's your reaction to the judge's decision?
I think it was fair. You know, she needed to be honest with me, and I tried to be fair with her, and she didn't want to be fair, so that's why we're here.
All right. Well, congratulations. Good luck to you.
Thank you.
All right. You're welcome.
Doug, I got to tell you, sublets are really tricky. When you rent a place, you should read at least portions of the lease, and you should read all of it, but you should read portions at least. And one of those portions is your right to sublet. Does it say you can or cannot? That is critical down the line.
I moved into my apartment 5 weeks ago, and I want to break the lease because there are broken locks on windows, a broken stove, a leaky faucet, and now black mold. Wow. I want to get back a month's rent, move-in fee, and pet deposit. Am I entitled to anything? I live in Chicago.
Well, some of this is serious stuff, like broken window locks, because it's a security issue.
Right, and black mold, depending on the extent of it, could be very serious.
Health issue.
I don't know how extensive it is, and whether So the first thing that I would do is make sure that I can get out of living there. You know, if you feel that there's black mold in big cities, especially like Chicago, and in a lot of cities, there are government agencies which will go in and inspect it, and it's a violation of the building code to not repair it.
Right.
So if you don't have a good relationship with your landlord and you can't just solve it, then have it inspected by the city so that you have something in writing, or pay a private industry to come in and say this is unhealthy or whatever it is, so you have evidence that you can break your lease.
Right.
But if you just moved in and the landlord is taking care of all, first of all, were all those things broken when you moved in? Because you can lift the window and test it and see everything.
Maybe
and
take a look around next time.
Right, and maybe take a look around. But in any event, if they're broken, they need to be fixed.
Right.
And you only need to give your landlord a reasonable time to fix them.
Right.
You don't need to live in a house where the windows don't lock.
Right.
So you want to have a record that you complained, a record that you complained again, like make sure you're sending texts or emails and that you keep a record of them, and a record of what your landlord is responding.
Don't just yell over the fence about it.
No.
I complained 4 times.
Right.
Yeah,
no,
sure
you always want to have a record of complaints with the landlord.
Right.
Always.
Absolutely. But in this situation, I mean, the person obviously wants the money back, wants to move out, and wants,
moving fees and everything else.
But first you got to give them a chance to try to fix it, right?
Correct.
Want to shop Walmart Black Friday deals first? Walmart Plus members get early access to our hottest deals. Join now and get 50% off a 1-year annual membership. Shop Black Friday deals first with Walmart Plus. See terms at walmartplus.com.
This is the plaintiff, Fadi. He says he was hired by the defendant to build a fence around her property. And the woman's neighbor got into a huff about it. And now he's not getting paid for all of his hard work. That's right. This neighbor dispute has cost him money. And he's here seeking the justice he deserves in the amount of the $1,450 he's owed. This is the defendant, Denise Landsman. She says she doesn't owe the plaintiff a penny because the job wasn't well done. She refuses to pay this guy for his inferior work and thinks the judge will be agreeing with her assessment of the situation today once she sees the evidence. She's accused of not mending fences.
All parties, please raise your right hands.
Welcome back to the People's Court. Next case on the docket, the plaintiff says he was hired by the defendant to build a fence around her property, and now she won't pay him. But the defendant says the guy did a horrible job, and she's not paying him a cent. It's the case of please fence me in.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome, Your Honor.
All right, Mr. Fady, you are suing Ms. Landsman for $1,450 that you say is still owed to you on a construction job that you did building a fence for her. Let me hear from you. What's going on?
On Monday, March 7, 2022, Ms. Denise called me for a price estimate about wood fence work.
And what kind of work did she want done?
She want to tear the old fence and build a new fence in her property and her side and the side with the neighbor.
Okay, so it's a whole new fence.
Yeah.
Okay.
Like that.
And then how much were you going to charge her for that?
$2,150.
Okay. And what happens?
Later on Wednesday, March 9, Denise agreed with the price. And in the afternoon, I went to her house. She paid me.
How much did she pay you?
$1,000 in cash.
Okay.
Which barely cover the cost of the material.
How much? Well, if you were charging $2,150, how much were the materials?
Well, the material about $800.
Okay. All right, so go on.
I have here the estimate.
So what happens? What goes wrong? Tell me what goes wrong.
I start the work on Saturday and Thursday, and Wednesday, Friday, and Saturday. 3 days, I built the fence, and was everything beautiful, and she was very happy.
Okay.
And I get one day, Sunday, we stop working, resting like everybody.
Okay.
Monday, I went back to finish. In that 3 days, I almost finished 75% from the fence. When I went back Monday, I starting to finish the part between her property and the neighbor. The neighbor heard me working there. She come and asked me, "What you doing?" It is the neighbor complaining about fixing the fence. She want the fence be done brand new as I did in the side of her property.
Are you saying that you didn't? I'm not sure what you're saying. Doesn't the new fence show as new on the neighbor's side?
Exactly.
So what was the neighbor complaining about?
The neighbor, I show you the picture if you want. I see here. I have the picture. Here, the fence of Denise side. Okay. Okay. And it is the brand new fence in Denise property in the side from her house to the corner. Okay. Okay. Here it is in her home. Okay. You're going to show me any second now what the neighbor was complaining about, right? Okay. What was the neighbor complaining about? Here between her neighbor. This fence fixed after she, Denise, told me you have to fix it. I told her will be
All right, hold on, Mr. Fady. Ms. Lantzman, tell me what your neighbor was complaining about.
After he was starting to construct the slope part, which belongs to me, a completely brand new fence, she was complaining that he had a brace. He was bracing the fence, the common fence. It's an L-shaped fence. The common fence goes in between our property, and my fence goes down the slope. So what he's showing you right there, he was bracing the fence line right there.
You mean that? Okay, you mean while he's doing the work? That's like a temporary brace while he's doing the work, but the brace is on her property.
I'm not sure whether it was a temporary brace or not. I came out to hear a bunch of yelling. When I came out and I heard the yelling, I walked out to see what was going on, and he was yelling at my female elderly neighbor, saying that her rose bushes that she planted are on my property, and they're in his way of him putting that brace up to hold the fence up. So I told him it was not his responsibility to yell at my neighbor about her plants being on my property. I allowed her to plant those plants on my property. So in essence, he had to work around that brace. That brace wasn't supposed to have been there in the first place.
So what did he do?
That caused a huge fight. That was towards the end of the day. I told him that he was extremely disrespectful, and he removed that brace.
Did it have any structural problem because of the removal, or no?
It has structural problems on the common fence because when he went to put the 2x4s on the top of the common fence, I sent a picture, but this is what it looks like. You could see where he put the 2x4, but you could also see where there's space in between, where I guess when he removed the brace, he felt that the brace was going to push it all together straight, and it didn't. So when he removed the brace, he continued to put the 2x4s on the top of the fence, leaving the fence with holes in between. There was a brace that he was trying to straighten out the fence with and push the fence together, is my assumption, and then connect the 2x4s on the top.
So what did he do wrong that you fired him? Why did you fire him? Because of the fight with the neighbor or something else?
Because of something else. It was a combination.
What was the something else? Go ahead.
The something else was the old fence looked like this, where it has boards on the bottom. They're called kickboards on the bottom. This is what the old fence looked like, and that's what I expected it to be replaced, just like that. What I got was this type of a fence, which you also have the picture, where it does not have kickboards and the bottom of it is all jagged along the dirt line.
Hold on one second. So kickboards should look like what? They're the very bottom so that it's trimmed?
Kickboards look like this. Exactly the way he built the gate.
Right. That's how the fence should look. And instead, show me again the picture of the fence. Okay. And is that a sloping part or no?
That is right here. This picture right here is where he built the fence on the slope. At one point, I went out to check on him, and he said that he was not going to cut it board by board, that it was too intense for him, too intensive, manually intensive for him to cut it board by board, that he was going to place all the boards on the fence, on the new fence, and then cut them and top it with a 2x4, which he did do, the top.
Are we
but
referring
the bottom,
to this
he
here?
Did not.
This 2x4?
That's on the old fence, but yes. It should look just like this. It should have kickboards all along the bottom.
Okay. And, all right, so how do you tell him that you don't want him to come back?
Well, first, I'll start by saying that He started on the garage side where where the gate is attached to the wall. You could see where the fence was actually 6 feet tall, and it's been there for 23 years. And for some unknown reason, he raised the fence at right here from 6 feet tall to 74.5 inches, and I'm not exactly sure why. And that's all the way across the whole entire gate. So I said, okay, fine. What am I supposed to do now? I left it like that. I had him leave it like that. He built the gate. The gate was correct. It's got the kickboard on the bottom. I naturally assumed, which is my fault, that the rest of the fence was going to be manufactured exactly the same way with a kickboard along the bottom, which is how every fence is manufactured out here, and it wasn't done. I Googled how to do a sloped fence, and these are the pictures that I got off Google, and you can see that even where there's a slope, they have kickboards. They all have kickboards.
And
None
what was
of
he
them
doing?
have
Was
jagged.
he not putting the kickboard, or the kickboard wasn't the end of the fence because he wasn't cutting the boards individually?
He was not cutting, he did not necessarily have to cut the boards individually. He could have placed all the boards like he did and then placed the kickboard. I mean, and
Did
then
you talk
cut
to
it
him?
and then...
Did you talk to him about that and tell him you didn't want the jagged edges coming down?
I did,
And what did he say?
told me that he's built 1 million fences, and that's the way that he does it. And I said that just because that's the way you do it does not mean that it's right. Along with that day that he was yelling at my neighbor when I came out, which was the last day that he worked for me, we had a discussion. I have a huge, beautiful privacy bush that runs the length from the fence line all the way out to the sidewalk that divides my neighbor and my house. I specifically told him, do not cut the bushes. When I came out, he cut the bushes. He hid the bushes that he cut inside the bushes.
You mean
so
branches?
I didn't realize.
He didn't cut the bushes. He cut some branches, I guess?
Well, if you look at this picture, this is how much
what I'm
he
looking
cut.
at doesn't look like much. This is the picture that you held up a second ago. And
right, that's one piece of it. There's two pictures, two different pictures.
Yeah, I'm looking at
That's
both
all
those
of it that he cut. And this picture right here shows a picture of just exactly how much he did cut, where I have a huge hole in the privacy bush now.
Right. How do you expect him to work on it if there's no room for him to move through there?
Because the whole other side was open and we discussed it. You could also see in this picture how much has been cut. The whole other side of the fence is open. There's nothing there.
How do you tell him you don't want him back?
After fighting with him about him speaking to my neighbor and him telling me that he wasn't doing the proper job, I cut him loose.
How did you do that?
I said, my husband said, pack up your stuff and leave.
Okay, why do you have to say, wait till your father gets home? Why can't you just fire him yourself? You don't have to say it's your husband.
My husband did it.
Okay.
My husband did, and I said the same thing.
Right.
He said that he did a good job. I feel that he didn't do a good job.
How much did you owe him at this point? You owed him another $1,150?
Correct. And I offered to pay him $500, and I told him I don't want him back.
Well, what was left when you said that to him?
Paint that cost me $400 to paint it because it was right before it was about to rain in March. So I paid to have it painted, which was his responsibility in his quote. Along with, I sent you a quote for the $300, I think, and $9 that it was going to take to have someone come out and put the kickboards properly onto the fence where they belong, on the slope part of the fence.
Okay. This is a picture of the fence with no kickboards. How many feet of the fence had no kickboard when you kicked them off?
The whole entire thing.
Okay. Now, Mr. Fady, where were the kickboards and why weren't they installed?
It is owner. When I start doing the fence, I told her if the kickboard touch the ground will be damaged very fast. I will raise it at 5 inch to 6 inch to have long life. And she was agree.
Let me ask you a question. What was left when she fired you? What was left to do?
Wednesday, I come for painting. She told me, yes, see you tomorrow. I came Wednesday and I come to start painting. Then she and her husband start complaining, this rail not should to be, the fence not look as the old fence. And I told her, why you don't tell me when I was built it? Right now, to do it again, it will be another day. Yesterday, I fixed it between you and your neighbor, and took me other day. It is this money. I am working not for free. She told me, you have to do it. If you don't do it, I don't pay you. I told him, what? I have to tear all the fence? I built it again? She told me, yes. I told her, impossible. If you pay me the money for another day, I will do it. She told me, get out.
What is this additional $300 that you're suing for?
$300 because when she ordered me to fix all the broken wood between her neighbor and her property, I did. She wasn't happy because the neighbor, she want all the fence new. Then she told me, fix it, okay? And I did everything as here show in the picture.
Yeah, I got it. What was it, according to you, Ms. Landsman, what is it that you had to pay out to get the board the way you wanted it, the kickboard? You had to pay how much?
$306 and change.
And what was it you had to pay to get it painted?
$400.
So you spent a total of $706 with a different person in order to get it the way you wanted it. All right. At that point, you still owed him $1,150 at a minimum.
I owed him $1,150. Out of that $1,150, I offered him $500 to call it quits and walk away, and I'll get the rest of the work done by somebody else. And he said, no, I'm going to take you to court.
Okay. After listening to the evidence and looking at the pictures, I tend to agree with Ms. Landsman that it wasn't finished the way it should be finished and the way she wanted it to be finished. I am going to order her to pay you the $1,150 minus the $706 that she had to pay someone else to get it done. I don't find any proof that you were entitled to an additional $300 that you're suing for. I'm looking in your text, and all you were ever demanding was the rest of your $2,150. This $300 comes out of left field. When I subtract the $706 from the $1,150 that's still owed, that means that she owes you $444. You should have taken what was behind door number 1 when she offered you the $500. I am ordering the defendant to pay the plaintiff $444. That's my verdict.
Thank you very much.
Honor, I can't talk with you.
So the plaintiff does prevail. He's going to get $440, I think it is. Not exactly what he was asking for, but in any event, that's what he's going to get from the judge. Let's see what Ms. Landsman has to say about this. Ms. Landsman, what are your thoughts?
I'm great with the decision. I offered him $500 to begin with for the work that he did do, and he declined the offer and chose to sue instead.
All right. Are you happy with the fence at the moment?
I'm not happy with it, and I'm still having it fixed.
Okay. All right, Mr. Fadi, what do you think? You wanted to talk to the judge at the end of the case. What did you want to say?
It's not justice because I was going to finish everything. She didn't let me finish the job, and she lying in all of that because I did the job perfect.
Well, that's the way it goes. She does not agree with you, obviously. All right, that'll bring this case to a close. Harvey, what are your thoughts?
Doug, generally it's not all or nothing. That if somebody does a decent job but messes up on a part of a contract, a part of a deal, then you dock that amount, but they get the rest.
Have you ever had to dismiss yourself from a case due to a conflict of interest?
The only cases I recused myself from were cases where my campaign manager would appear in front of me, even though I don't even think I had to under Florida law. I just thought it was just too much. And he ended up being my children's godparents, and I was the godparents of his kids. So, so they're just, it's not just important to be fair, it's also important to have the appearance of propriety.
Absolutely.
Because you don't want people losing faith in the system.
You might remember about maybe 5 or 6 years into my career as a judge, I had that huge civil case where there was a $650 million judgment against an accounting firm.
Oh my gosh.
And then the same plaintiffs sued the international parent company of the firm. And it ended up in my courtroom. And I knew the lawyers on both sides. And on the first day I was on the case, I looked at the lawyers and their clients that were there, and I said, listen, this guy plays golf with me, once every couple of months. That guy on the other side's been to my home for dinner 3 or 4 times. And I've known him for 30 years. All back and forth, right? And then I was expecting that someone would say, thanks, Judge, but we don't want you on the case. And I wouldn't have taken it personally. I would have said, oh, thank goodness I dodged that bullet.
Right. Instead they all said
wanted
it's not
me
a
on
problem.
The case, right? And I was in trial on that for 3.5 weeks, almost 4 weeks, and I missed out on going to Yankee Stadium.
That's right.
With you.
You missed the Yankee dugout.
Right, because I didn't want to leave the jury hanging for an extra day.
Yeah, how do you feel about that now?
I figured I'd be in the Yankee dugout all the time.
Yeah, apparently. How'd that work out for you?
It's like the song I got.
I kept telling you, you need to come with me. Why are you doing this?
Right?
Oh, I don't want to pause one more day.
That's it for this session of the People's Court. We will see you next time.